Denouement, the outcome or resolution of a complicated situation or narrative. The unraveling or clarification of the plot of a story or play. The denouement of the play revealed the truth about the main character's past. The detective story's denouement was a surprising twist that nobody had anticipated. The denouement of the film left many viewers feeling unsatisfied with the ending. The novel's denouement tied up all the loose ends and resolved the main conflict. The play's denouement brought closure to the story and left the audience with a sense of catharsis. Dissolution as noun, the act or process of breaking down or disintegrating, the state of being dissolved, especially a solid substance in a liquid. The dissolution of the partnership was due to irreconcilable differences between the two owners. The dissolution of the marriage was finalized after a long and contentious legal battle. The scientists studied the dissolution of the sugar in the water to understand its chemical properties. The dissolution of the company was announced in a press release due to financial difficulties. The dissolution of the committee was necessary as its objectives had been achieved. Duress as noun, a situation in which someone is forced to act against their will. The use of force or coercion to compel someone to do something against their will. The victim testified that he had confessed under duress after being threatened by the police. The employee signed the contract under duress, fearing he would lose his job if he refused. The kidnapper was arrested and charged with holding his victims under duress. The judge ruled that the confession was obtained under duress and could not be used as evidence in the trial. The company was accused of subjecting its workers to duress to meet the production targets. Firebrand is noun, a person who advocates for or engages in extreme or radical action or behavior. A torch or other source of flame used for lighting or as a weapon. The political firebrand gave a fiery speech that roused the crowd to action. The coach was a firebrand who motivated his team to push themselves to the limit. The activist was a firebrand who fought tirelessly for social justice and equality. The newspaper editor was a firebrand who wasn't afraid to take on controversial issues and challenge the status quo. The firebrand preacher inspired his congregation to live according to their faith and make a positive impact on the world. Gauchanun, awkward or unskilled in social situations, lacking in social grace or sophistication. His gauche manners made him stand out among the refined guests. The new intern's gauche behavior at the office party was quite embarrassing. She felt gauche and out of place at the fancy restaurant. The politician's gauche comments offended many people. The writer's portrayal of the character's gauche personality was spot on. Glut as noun, a surplus of goods or materials, an excess of something leading to an overabundance. The glut of new products on the market made it difficult for consumers to make a decision. The glut of job applicants made it difficult for anyone to find work. The glut of information available on the internet can be overwhelming. The glut of cheap goods from overseas is putting many local businesses out of business. The glut of food at the buffet meant that people could eat as much as they wanted. Insouciance is noun, a carefree and light-hearted attitude, lack of concern or worry. His insouciance towards his responsibilities led to his dismissal. She laughed with insouciance as she recounted the story. His insouciance in the face of danger was both admirable and foolish. The company's insouciance towards customer complaints was damaging to their reputation. Her insouciance about the future worried her parents. Largesse as noun, a display of abundant generosity or benevolence, typically shown by wealthy individuals or organizations. Generosity or liberal giving of gifts, money, or resources, often to those in need or deserving. The philanthropist's largesse included generous donations to various charitable organizations. The royal family displayed largesse by distributing gifts to the citizens during the festive season. The company's largesse extended beyond its employees, supporting local community projects and initiatives. The billionaire's largesse was evident in his extravagant gifts to friends and family. The organization received financial largesse from a wealthy benefactor, enabling them to expand their programs and reach more people. Probity is noun, adherence to high ethical standards, honesty and integrity in one's actions and decisions. The candidate was chosen for their probity and honesty. The company prides itself on its probity in all business dealings. The judge's reputation for probity was well known in the legal community. The organization requires its members to uphold a strict code of probity and ethics. The politician's probity was called into question after allegations of corruption emerged. Snub as noun, a deliberate show of disdain or disrespect by ignoring or excluding someone, a slight or rebuff. His non-invitation to the party felt like a snub. The actress perceived the lack of recognition as a snub. She felt hurt by the snub she received from her former friend. The company's decision to ignore the feedback was a snub to their customers. His silence during the meeting felt like a snub to the team. Tirade is noun, a long, angry, and critical speech or rant, a verbal outburst of criticism, denunciation, or condemnation. She went on a tirade about the unfairness of the system. The boss went on a tirade after seeing the mistakes in the report. His tirade about politics lasted for hours. The coach gave a tirade to the team after the loss. His tirade against the company's policies made everyone uncomfortable. Anathema as noun, a formal ecclesiastical curse invoking excommunication, a thing or person that one vehemently dislikes. Racism is anathema to a just and inclusive society. In many cultures, eating pork is considered anathema due to religious beliefs. In the scientific community, plagiarism is considered anathema due to its violation of ethical standards. For some people, the idea of working in a cubicle all day is anathema to their sense of freedom and creativity. In certain political circles, compromise is seen as anathema to one's principles. Animosity is noun, strong feelings of hostility or hatred towards someone or something. There has been a long-standing animosity between the two rival soccer teams. The political opponents have expressed their animosity towards each other during the election campaign. The siblings have held onto animosity towards each other since childhood due to a past conflict. The two companies have a history of animosity towards each other due to competing in the same market. The teacher sensed the animosity between two students who had a disagreement in class. Broadside is noun, a type of printed advertisement or announcement, typically one that is large and posted in a public place. The side of a ship above the waterline, particularly the side facing forward. The ship was hit by a powerful broadside from the enemy fleet, causing significant damage. The newspaper published a scathing broadside against the politician, accusing them of corruption and dishonesty. The driver was caught in a broadside collision with another car, totaling both vehicles. The author's latest book received a broadside of negative reviews, despite their previous successes. The historic fort had a collection of broadsides on display, showcasing the propaganda and news of the time. Chauvinism as noun. Belief in the superiority of one's own group. Excessive or aggressive patriotism. His chauvinism made it difficult for him to work collaboratively with women colleagues. The company's culture of chauvinism was criticized for its lack of diversity and inclusivity. The politician's chauvinism was seen as a hindrance to passing policies that benefited marginalized communities. The coach's chauvinism towards male players caused him to overlook talented female athletes. The comedian's jokes were criticized for their chauvinism and perpetuation of harmful stereotypes. Conundrum as noun. A puzzle or problem that is difficult or impossible to solve or resolve. A situation or question that is confusing or has no clear answer. The conundrum of how to reduce our carbon footprint while maintaining economic growth is a complex challenge. The politician faced the conundrum of pleasing both his constituents and his party leaders. The puzzle presented a conundrum that stumped even the most experienced crossword solvers. The ethical conundrum of whether or not to use animals for medical testing is a divisive issue. The company's financial conundrum was exacerbated by the pandemic, leaving them with difficult decisions to make. Culpability as noun. Blame or guilt for a mistake or crime. Responsibility for a wrong or a fault. The court determined that the defendant's culpability in the crime was high, leading to a longer sentence. The investigation revealed evidence of the company's culpability in the environmental disaster, resulting in a large fine. The lawyer argued that her client had no culpability in the accident and should not be held responsible for damages. The committee discussed the culpability of various parties involved in the project's failure, trying to assign blame and learn from mistakes. The journalist's report exposed the culpability of government officials in the corruption scandal, leading to public outrage and demands for justice. Despot as noun. A ruler with absolute power and authority, often using it oppressively and unjustly. The country was ruled by a despot who suppressed free speech and jailed dissidents. The despot was known for his ruthless tactics and disregard for human rights. The people revolted against the despot and overthrew his regime. The despotism of the ruler led to widespread poverty and hardship. The despot's excessive spending on luxuries contributed to the country's economic downfall. Dupe as noun. A copy or imitation, especially a cheaper or inferior one. A person who is easily fooled or deceived, a gullible person. The con artist had a long list of dupes who had fallen for his scams. She felt like a dupe after discovering that the product she had purchased was a cheap imitation. The dupes were promised high returns on their investments, but in reality, the whole thing was a pyramid scheme. The naive dupe was taken in by the smooth-talking salesman and ended up buying a product she didn't need. The dupes of the online scam had their personal information stolen and their bank accounts emptied. Enmity as noun. A state or condition of being actively hostile towards someone or something. Hatred or ill will towards someone or something. There was a long-standing enmity between the two neighboring countries. The political campaign was marked by bitter enmity between the candidates. The history of the region was defined by centuries of enmity between rival factions. The divorce proceedings were complicated by the enmity between the estranged couple. The siblings had a deep enmity that dated back to their childhood. Level up your English. Master vocabulary, idioms, and phrasal verbs with fun quizzes. Translate meanings into 104 languages. Download now. Link in the description. Please like and subscribe to our channel.